chat, you can see so welcome everybody. Steve Cady here with our thought leader circle, if you will, for the folks that are authors in the Collaborative Change Library and Handbook. And it's really good to see you all here. It's October 6th, and it's our first Thursday of the month. And my goal with this, hi John, my goal with this is for us to have a space as thought leaders. And what I mean by that, I simply define a thought leader as someone who's created knowledge in print form, digital print, not print form, but in text-based form, complemented by rich media, and they're scaling their knowledge to help others. So they're committed, and you all are that, the people who enjoy creating content, creating knowledge, sharing knowledge, disseminating knowledge, and really on societal impact types of topics, if you will, making a positive difference in the world based on the social behavioral sciences broadly. And it's for professional scholars, practitioners, but really anytime you publish in my book, in my judgment, that's where you've kind of entered the realm of this. We call it, sometimes you've heard the word scholar practitioner. I tend to kind of push back on that a little bit. Some students don't quite identify with it, although I like the term. Professional scholar seems to appeal to a lot of our doctoral students in the program, in our doctoral program, and they got, the average age is about 50, and they got 25 years of experience, and they're coming in from all over the country. And the notion that they are professionals working in the world, doing work, and they're scholarly in their work seems to appeal to them as well as scholar practitioners. Bottom line is, if you're creating knowledge so that you can make a difference while you sleep through the chapters in our book, through your book, I'd like for this to be a space where we can support each other. I'd like for this to be a space where we can encourage each other. And we'll talk some about the library, but I also want to talk about your books, your other things that you're doing. We want to help each other make a better difference in the world, and have this be a home base for us. On first Thursday every month at 11, I will be here, and you come. Now, we'll have some questions for you, like how to make it more accessible. So for example, how you have to RSVP. We've debated this, Teo and Lisa and I. One thing is, do we just keep a hot link, like a room that you could always know you go to? You don't have to go RSVP and remember to RSVP and then remember to get there and stuff like that. You just always know, here's the link. It's always there. First Thursday of the month, just kind of like a physical community space. You know where it is. It's every Thursday. You drive there. You don't have to RSVP. It's always there. And whoever shows up are the right people. So I really, last time I was in a kind of a tough spot. I was dealing with a lot of stress. I was feeling a little overwhelmed, and I felt supported. It was really nice, and I appreciated that from everybody. So our jam, I put the link in there. I'm not going to pull it up. I'm going to let the screen stay as full as it can. You can go look at the slides, but you can see that we really want to provide an inspiring, energizing space for all of us that are contributing to the library as a starting place. And so if someone hasn't contributed to it, but you want them to come because you feel like they would enjoy being a part of this conversation as a thought leader, please invite them, right? The only precursor is that you're committed to creating knowledge and disseminating knowledge. That's it. You're going to create knowledge in a format that will allow it to be scaled and have a rippling effect out in the world. As long as that is the key and you care to make a difference, have them come, because me, I'm going to likely say, hey, I like what you're doing. Here's what you could write about. We can get it into the library in some way and make it really helpful. It's really nice. So that's the general focus. And then the outcomes, you can see those outcomes, and we can always add to them. So that's it's our set of outcomes. This is what's come out of many of these jam sessions and meetings that we've had with each other about learning and making new friends and connecting and broadening, exploring and leveraging and getting support. And I think really in the end, it's to be energized. And I didn't see Cliff. It says, oh, I'm sorry, Cliff. So yeah, so we can send some healing and we'll do some healing energy work with you today, and we can do that for sure.
Steve, are you referencing the slides that people are supposed to pull up, or?
I saw the chat, and Cliff said that he had laryngitis. I was saying we could, do that. I'm referencing the slides for sure. I just mentioned that. I'm not pulling them up and screen sharing. I'm just saying you got the
So
link.
should we share the link with folks then?
It should be in there. If not, put it in there again. So it
I think
may,
that
may
was
have
before
showed up.
that was before
Yeah.
people joined. Okay,
Yeah. So put it in there. Yeah.
got it.
I can share the slides, but it
No,
creates
okay,
a small screen. I want to see everybody.
The link is
So-
on the chat for those.
So I would love, our topics for today, you can see is, like making sure you can access the content. Sandra Janoff sends her regret. She wanted to be here. But she asked, like, how can I find my chapter? And I was like, okay, well, here's how you do that. So just helping people know how to use the library. We wanted to talk a little bit about NoBits. We couldn't talk about it last time because we ran out of time. I want to show you that because it's really exciting. And I think it'll appeal to you all because it's an open source space for communities to create content that matters to them. And I think it's potentially a very powerful platform down the road that might be transformative. But we'll talk about those things. But I think to check in, let me just turn it over to someone who wants to go first and really you just, where are you? And then I'm not too, I think excited about your chapter. I'm really I did just stop at what are you excited about? And maybe what do you need? Do you need some support? I'd really like it to really be about, where are you and what are you excited about, or what would you like to talk about, or where could we support you? You can pick how you want to check in, and then just pick someone to go next. And Dave, if you want to,
Yeah, I'll start
maybe?
because I only know a few folks on the screen, and I am still relatively new to my library. I co-authored a book with Peter Vale called "On Practice as a Way of Being: Peter Vale's Conjectures and How They Matter," and I'll put it in the link in a minute. But I've been thinking a lot about it because once the book was created digitally, I had a couple of thresholds, not for me any longer. I crossed the threshold when I learned how to write and edit and revise with the help of Theo and Carol and others who had eyes on the book. That was delightful, much better than any of my earlier experiences where you'd send out your draft and you'd get galleys and markups and an endless process to try to get something printed. In this case, it was printed fast and well. So the next point, though, the next threshold is getting people to understand a digital book, or in this case, the digital CCL, to get their headset from where Carol's sitting with shells, pieces of paper wrapped in cardboard, and seeing the advantage of a digital read. And so we could talk about, I don't know if that matters to anyone else, but it matters to me because I want the book to be read, not therefore bought.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working very hard. Theo's been helpful, Nathan, to figure out a way for me to teach the book, basically. So that's who I am.
Thanks, David. David, would you like to pick someone to go next?
Oh, yeah, let's, John, what's on your mind today? John Hine.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back connecting with folks. Well, I guess what's on my mind more is just kind of the need for action and moving things forward. I've got a lot of different things that I'm working on. I operate as a external consultant, primarily in the John Deere dealer space. In fact, the reason I was late was I was having a board level conversation with one of my big customers on CEO compensation. So my focus is kind of across the board relative to bringing better HR practice and honestly change management practice into these dealer groups as they continue to expand or merge. And so they're moving very quickly from $100 million businesses to $2 and $3 billion businesses very, very fast. And with little attention to kind of operating in new ways and the like. So I have a company called Time Service Consulting and a partner in that role. where we're trying to help these folks get their heads wrapped around what's really occurring and adjust their thinking around what it means to be a leader and how they become more operationally effective and profitable, continue to be profitable. So a lot to unpack in there, but the purpose of my wanting to join this group today was really just to reconnect with my library, because it's been a while. My chapter is more around, and thank you, Theo, for putting the links out there to everybody's chapter. That's very, very apropos. Mine's really just the transition, just trying to educate people on the transition that I made from a key role in Ford Motor Company as an internal leader of leadership development into now a private practice, if you will, and what I thought was important for people to consider if they're even thinking about making that move. I was struggling a little bit with just kind of getting access, so I appreciate the links and everything, getting back in and being able to look at it. But Steve was a professor. It's good to see you and reconnect. So outside of that, I don't have any expectations. I just have an hour of time and was hoping to fill it with some good cheer and good conversation.
Yeah, great.
I'd like to give John some very quick feedback. Any of us who write about leadership, change, all those matters, should be extremely jealous of you right now.
Why
Because
is that?
while we read about what other people have done, you're doing it. You're in practice, and you're in a very interesting moment in the history of a well-known company when they're suddenly going to be either soaring in profitability or collapsing just as fast. And the kind of writing that you might do, and I know you have proprietary restrictions on that. Let me take a look over my shoulder, and watch what's going on in this particular conversation with this board or with this agent, because that's what we want to know. Tactile experience with organization change.
Yeah, well, I'm involved in at least 3 big organizational changes, not to mention the multitudes that are inside of the John Deere dealer groups, but also then a couple of other select customers that I'm also involved in driving some big scale change with them as well. So it's yeah, I'm boots on the ground. I wish I had time to sit back and reflect and write. I really do, but I'm boots on the ground, blocking and tackling and trying to get mental mind shift happening that is enlightening these people to consider the human side of change.
Yeah.
Not just the physical. As Bridges puts it, the transitional management,
So I'll give you this side note. I got to put in the chat here. I just published an article in BMJ Quality and Safety for Healthcare, and it's a leading journal in Europe. And it's really a big hit for me because it's a really well-respected journal, and it's a scholarly journal that appeals to practitioners in the medical field, and it was all about taking a balanced approach to change in terms of understanding the emotional side of change and how quality initiatives, if you focus on it, it creates a self-limiting cascade. If you focus on quality improvement as your primary focus of change, that article within 1 month went up to the 96th percentile on the Altimetric metric that looks at the impact of articles immediately and how they're read and reviewed. And I'll send you a little bit of that. I'll try to put the link in there. The editors even wrote an op-ed. Can we take care of our patients and our staff at the same time, is what they were saying. And it talks about how the dangerous focus on performance can have an emotional toll and a long-term impact on the organization. I'll put that link in there for the article. And but it's really was wild to see how fast it hit the ground. So I'll put that in.
Why do you think that happened? What was the hot button, Steve?
It's the age where I think we're acknowledging that we have to take care, we have to look at performance and people at the same time. It's the age-old leadership studies, Hershey Blanchard, task focus, people focus,
Sure.
relationship. It's the same. It's just people are beginning to start to understand that it has to be paid attention to
Yeah.
in a practical way. And I think they're starting to acknowledge that we just have to continue to grab onto that, hold on to that because I'm also part of a committee on AACSB's accelerator for societal impact competencies, which is going to push a new set of competencies, leadership competencies in
Yeah.
colleges of business that could absolutely transform. You're all going to get a survey from them to ask you what you think those competencies should be, because the colleges of business are all acknowledging that they need to think about it too. We're close. We're close. We're
Yeah.
close. But we gotta stay in this and get it so it becomes a norm that I talk about pedaling with one leg or pedaling with two legs.
Yeah.
We gotta create that. So I don't want to distract us from other people checking in, but thanks, John. That really is important. I'll put it in the chat. So can you pick someone to go next? Because I don't want to delay us from other people checking in.
Lisa.
Well, good morning. Well, at least from where I'm at. And gosh, what's on my mind? For me, again, for some of you that I haven't met before, I'm a EMOD student at BGSU, so I'm in the master's program. And so I'm honestly just going through the next class, and oddly enough, it seems like each class is coming at a particular time in a brand new role that I've only been in 3 months. So I'm just enjoying hearing these conversations with all of you and talking about your content, and then applying much of what I'm learning. So I'm just glad that I can be here and get to hear and learn from all of you. All right, let me kick it over to Carol. Carol, are you ready?
I will be ready because you called on me. I have two things generated by this conversation. My dissertation 22 years ago was about this intersection between the human and the structural. A large scale change open systems model. So this is music to my ears that it's really happening, and that's why I'm in this. And the second thing is I'm looking at this screen and hearing so many familiar people, and a thread that I've sort of forgotten about that jumped out at me this week talking to Al and now hearing John, is how ahead of the times Ford was, and how their work in our field. And I think that was also where Kathy Dannemiller started. And I think, Steve, you too were probably involved in Ford. How interesting. So that's what I'm curious about and excited about. Yes.
Yeah, Dave, I'm sure, Dave, you and I crossed paths. I spent numerous years there working on exactly what Steve just talked about, I talked about, and what Carol's referring to.
Yeah.
And I was delayed when they moved to this new strategy and did an AI interchange event that was transformative. So they're a really good case study. Anyway, I'll call, oh, Cliff, you're not speaking. Al.
Well, I'm late to the party here, so I apologize for that. But what I just heard, and I think, Carol, you'll smile at this, is that everything old is new again. And I think about, 25 years ago, we were talking about the death of command and control culture. Well, it didn't die. And people just rediscovering over and over the human side of change matters. And you know, my reaction is, so what else is new? You know, but people have to keep continuously rediscovering that, and it's just interesting that we're there helping. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm heading into fall with some really interesting projects, and we've got nice weather for a while. I'm just looking outside, so I'm just glad to be here. I've got to run it right at the top of the hour, so I'm just going to give you my very best attention for the next 35 minutes and hope that everything plays out the way you guys want it to. Who hasn't gone? I don't even
Bridget.
know.
Bridget,
you're up.
One of the things that happens as I listen, of course, is anything that I thought I was going to say is gone because I've been listening. That there's so many thoughts that happen that I'm just off in space. That which I want to say at this moment is about the importance of context. And I, unlike many of you are scholars, I'm not so enamored with case studies and so on. I ought to be. I know that they're in the collaborative change library and so on, but it's these pictures of this moment in time, and that there's there's something that's excellent and we can learn from it. But what is that longer view? And my own longer view, even like if I need to step back and say, does the organization accept itself as having a culture of development? Because if it doesn't accept it, you can have these moments and they're excellent and something gets written up, but if it doesn't have a culture of development that includes organizational development, leadership development, and personal development, which I call personal leadership development, it kind of collapses after a while. So I think of the context. I go back into the context, and it's not even a question of, the results versus the human and so on. It goes back into worldview, belief system, and how does that belief system get embedded within the ecosystem or the culture of the whole organization as part of its life. And so that to me is an important look-see and what the difference it makes. My chapter is called Genuine Contact. It does have it's not a method, so although it's in the method section, as so much as it is a whole organizational approach. And I continue to feel very blessed that I was able and allowed and invited to get that chapter in. So, Teo, over to you. I don't think you've spoken.
Thank you. You all have heard me here or there. I'm grateful to be here and to really have been able to inform and in many ways build my practice, to tag onto Dave's earlier comment and the book that he's written, by having seen all of your chapters and having been able to sort of have some editorial responsibilities for all of those. Cliff Polarities for me was like a real important kick in the pants, like, oh my goodness, how about I sort of think about things from that lens for a starter rather than the typical lens I've used in the past. And John's chapter helped me to sort of figure out, okay, if this is a career that you want to delve into, where and how might you do that or not. And so there's nuggets from each of your writings that are part of my practice now. I'm realizing, and that's really probably my single biggest gratitude as part of all of this. If any of you are having a challenge with getting to your content, please send me an email. We can do a 10-15 minute Zoom and make sure that you're set up. And I saw Steve's suggestion to maybe record that for everyone. But happy to make sure that specifically you can get to your content and being able to share it. One quick plug, you will get from me as follow-up from this an email that will ask you to look at your method snapshot. So we're trying to make sure that we have the best possible version of the approach and method chapters. John, this may not feasibly apply to the chapter you've partaken in, but sort of give people an overview like, hey, this is what genuine contact is about, or hey, this is what polarity mapping is about, to then give them an impetus to dig into the full chapter. And I want to make sure that those meet your expectations.
Yeah, and we should even look at snapshots for the, for some of the alternative chapters we have too. But we talked about that, but it's worth even experimenting with that.
So
Yeah.
if you're wondering, Lisa sends her apologies. She had to jump off for what she calls a pretty serious work emergency. But you will see her here in this space regularly with us. She's been pretty key to helping us get refocused on some of this engagement with you all. And we're grateful for sort of the background work that she's doing in this.
Did you hear what she said though, folks? She said, now that I'm taking classes and doing this work and perhaps other work, I'm seeing the connections. Now, I spent 53 years of my life in the classroom or supporting people in the classroom, so that when students paid their money and paid their time and subscribed to our content, they saw relevance and wanted to continue the practice of reading, discussing well beyond graduation. But I think the first hooks in the stitching are made, in a really dynamic classroom, which I understand Bowling Green has got plenty of. But I've never felt like it's needed more than it is going forward.
Yeah.
So Lisa's sort of a very important part of this jam because she's a user.
Yeah.
Get my point, Steve.
Yeah. Well, this is good. So I think we've all checked in except for Cliff, who can't. But Cliff, do you want to type a check-in or do you want to try to talk? What's good for you? You'll type? Yeah, that's cool if you want to do that.
Now
And
we're
I'm
all
really glad
glued to the screen.
Yeah.
Carol,
we're
you want to
looking-
check Cliff in?
Oh, Carol. Carol hasn't checked in.
I think
Cliff, Carol needs to
Carol has
check in.
checked in, but I think
Oh,
Cliff is asking Carol to check him in.
Asking me to check in for him. That would take an hour. But Teo, do you really want me to do that? Cliff, check. Yes, no?
He's nodding.
He's typing.
Teo teed up what Cliff is about in his professional life. But Cliff to me is a Renaissance person that represents a little bit of all of us. But his chapter and his specialty is on polarities. He's worked with Barry Johnson, who popularized that. And recently they just did 2 books. And I think the need for polarities, as Teo mentioned, is becoming like the human side, much more understood. It's being called dilemmas, paradoxes. It's all the same. It's solving problems that are not either or and moving to both ends. And I don't know anybody in my life who lives it more than Cliff.
Yeah. And that's
Cliff wants to say something, but Steve.
he wants you to look at the
Check the
on the
chat.
chat. On the notes.
Okay. I wasn't sure that was open. His Renaissance piece is that for more than 25 years, he's been deeply involved in the Tao Teaching. And he wrote I would call it Cliff's version of conjectures, Dave, and has written poems in English. And we are contemplating, dare I say, publishing it as my library book. Was that going too far, Cliff? I'm
And you know what would be,
Let me,
it
let me
would,
see if I can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Please
just
don't.
talk really low if you do talk, just to give you,
Okay.
just whisper.
So about 30 years ago, I came across the Tao Te Ching, and I was really intrigued by it. And so I did my own summary. And then I realized that the original in Chinese was in poetry. And I had not come across an English translation that was in poetry. It was lost in translation. So I converted my summary to poetry. And so last year I hit a tree while mountain biking. It broke my neck. And I had a long recovery. So I picked up my last version of the Tao Te Ching and did another cut. And I think it's ready to publish.
Yes,
So,
let's.
It's beautiful.
yeah. So
Yeah, you
I
know what's interesting, this, and Cliff, this sets the stage for the next conversation that we're going to have, which I think is absolutely exciting. And that is, you have a choice. One is to make it open source and use NoBits to make it available to anybody and everybody out there. You can also make it available through my library, you know, like the new Edge digital content. You could do it that way as well. You could do a little bit of both, like experiment with putting stuff out there and seeing how people react. We haven't, NoBits doesn't have my goal is it'll have a lot of people, they'll like YouTube of the printed word within the next year, but you could experiment and play on the platform as you want. And, you know, we'll work with you to help you however you want to do that, if that works for you.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Can I briefly also share this? This is also come on, play. That's also Cliff, by the way.
Oh my Lord.
Doing X Games stuff.
He's quite an athlete.
That's the
So
way.
if you ever have two trees in a row, here's something you can.
That's great. That's awesome. So, yeah, so this is wonderful. So, what are you all ready for? I can go anywhere you want. We've got about, 20 minutes. I can share with you NoBits and what we're thinking about. We could talk about that. We could pick a topic that you all would like to talk about. I want us to be in support of each other wherever we're at right now.
I'd like to know more about the NoBits component that you have, Steve. I'd like to understand the framework for what you're putting into play. Do you have a business model for this? What's that look like? Sorry, my capitalist tendencies.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen at this point so that I can do that. Yeah, I mean, if that's okay, I'm happy to jump in and show you. I'll do that here.
You're going to use
And-
beta or current production?
You put in the chat put whatever you think in the chat I should open up. I'm going to show the screens real quick. Put in the chat which one you want me to
Okay.
do. Okay. And
Let's use the one then that everybody can access currently, which is the production.
Is the beta got some features that make it more compelling?
Just the new sorting, the topic sort versus the type sort is in beta
I would like
already.
that. I would like that one to show.
Okay.
Because I think that works better.
Okay.
Ringing my doorbell. I'm sorry, someone's ringing my doorbell. I don't not expect.
So maybe I'll go ahead and you want me to go ahead and share that, Steve, or are you good?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, because I don't know what this is. One second.
Okay.
I like the color scheme
So-
of the graphic up there, the rainbow effect.
Yeah.
Draws
It's
your eye.
thanks to we have some new support from somebody who really knows their visuals, and it's quite exciting to have that available. So I'm going to steal. Oh,
I'm
he's
good.
back.
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. So just a couple things before that we wanted to make sure we touched on, accessing your content there. And you have it in the slides. And since you all have access to the slides, you can see how to do that. And then you got the different platforms you can click on there and so forth. So
I'll put the link to
what
the slides
Nobits-
and one more.
Yeah. And then, so what Nobits does, I mentioned this last time, is my library is a leading edge digital publisher. We want to be the new age, new generation, the next gen publisher that is like digital first, print second is the idea. So you create your content with a digital instantiation in mind first, knowing that every bit of knowledge in your content can have mixed media associated with it.
Yep.
And so you can, and then you create your knowledge bits. And this is the key thing here that some of you might be aware of, but it's a cool two cool little things that I learned in working on this way back in the 2010 and right before that. There's what's called content agnostic. And there's evergreen. So what are those two concepts? Really important. Take a little bit of knowledge, and you think of it like a chapter in a book is a bit of knowledge. Write that chapter evergreen first. That means it doesn't matter what season you're in or what year you're in, that it's timeless. So when you use examples, be mindful to use examples that lend themselves to living onward. So like where I made mistakes was Kentucky was doing great basketball. I used a Kentucky example and talked about it because they had such a great season. By the time we were getting to publishing the book, it was out. Nobody remembered that season, right? So I didn't tell the story. I told the story in a way that you had to know the story to understand my story. You had to know the backstory. So write your content such that it can be timeless. A parable. And like parables can be timeless, but you can use an example, but just be mindful of writing it in a way that it's timeless. That's evergreen. Now, content agnostic is the other key thing that is really important. And that is that each knowledge bit can stand alone without any of the other bits. However, when I weave the knowledge bits together, they tell a story. Think of it like a good series on TV. You can just drop in somewhere and watch the series and really enjoy it. It'll make you want to go back and go to the first episode or the pilot or go to other things, but you could drop in on a series anywhere and enjoy it. And if they make too much of that series, that particular episode, too dependent on the previous episodes, people will check out. They need to create each episode to be content agnostic, in that you can have an enjoyable experience with that episode without the other ones. So write your chapter. And what I do is when I write a chapter, it's a digital first product. I write the chapter such that someone could just read the chapter and be just fine without it, with it alone. They don't need the So some people will write chapters where they reference the previous chapter. And what happens is it creates this interlocking logic and content that makes it hard for a person to read the book and maybe drop out chapters or mix and match chapters with other chapters and so forth. So what I do with the book is, with the textbook that I had, it's got 15 chapters. You could pick your favorite 8 and boom, it drops, and the student reading it would never know that there were another 8 that were missing or that weren't being used. So that's the content agnostic, is write your knowledge bits, the chapters as bits, such that when you put it together as a full book, it feels coherent. It feels like it fits together. It's kind of like amazing. You don't even think that, hey, this chapter doesn't. If you reference something else, reference it in a way that you're not saying in the previous chapter. You reference the concept and give a little bit so the person can still understand without going back. So that's the content. Those two pieces are really that's two little tricks that are like nobody thinks about. I don't think many people think about it, but it's really impactful. So now my library is is the publisher end. So if you want to publish it, you want to put it out there as a book, and you want people to be able to get a print copy of it, and you want people to be able to engage with it like a regular textbook, buy it, and have the prop, you know, kind of a little bit more of the traditional way the financial flow is for that. That's great, because now you got it, but it also enables you to create the financial model in a way that most publishers can't. So it's really nice. Then No Bits came out of just sitting there and thinking, what if I could take my grandma's recipes and throw them on someplace, and I could take my poetry, Cliff, I love to write poetry. I could take my poetry and put one poem out there. I could take a little knowledge bit and throw it out there. And I could attach a video to it, and I could attach a website to it, and I could attach something else to it. And all of a sudden it can float around and have its own life of its own. And it could be just a little knowledge bit. And then people could take bits, and it's built on this notion of bits, parts, wholes, because I could take my knowledge bit and I can combine it with other bits. And those bits, those combined bits make a part. And knowledge parts can be combined with other parts to create a whole. The Collaborative Change Library is organized that way because it's volumes. So each volume is a part. The whole collection, the library, is a whole. And the knowledge bits are the individual chapters inside each volume. So you can do it that way. You can think of layers of 3. We can go to layers of 5. We can go to tiny bits and max and meta holes, you know, like if we wanted to, but we're keeping it to 3s to keep it conceptually easy to manage. And it does it in a way that nobody else does, because nobody creates, even YouTube and all the other, they don't do playlists within a playlist within a playlist. I'd love that. I'd love to have playlists I could create on music of playlist to playlist. Spotify, they don't let you do that concept. So this is built on this notion of bits, parts, wholes. So now you can take each content, it's text-based first, right? It's text content first, mixed media second. What does that mean? You create your text, your poem, Cliff, then you create your music video of your poem, and you can attach the video to it, and you can create a web link to your website or to something about that, or multiple web links or multiple videos. You can add more than one, and maybe a discussion sheet for how to listen to that, do it, and use it in a classroom or in a community meeting. How might I process that? Or maybe a background document or something. I can add documents to also support that knowledge bit.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so now, what if I could take my grandma's recipe? Think about this. All right, I'm going to take grandma. I'm going to take a recipe and put it on there. And then I'm going to have a little video of grandma making it. Okay. And then I'm going to have, you know, maybe an additional document that's a little bit more, and maybe a link to a site that talks about chocolates, because it's a chocolate recipe of some kind. And maybe I interview grandma where that recipe came from and she makes it, or just maybe it's 2 videos. One is how to do it fast, and one is let's hear grandma's backstory. You know, and I can do in my family, I can do that recipe and throw that one recipe up. And then I can put up the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. I can make it available just to my family, kind of like you can on Google, where it's restricted and only a certain group can have access to it. We're getting there. It's not quite there yet. It's really all open source. I can make it available to people with a link, or I can make it available open. Anybody can have it, and I tag it with a topic as a topic area, and I tag it with other tags and so forth. And so now I've tagged it, got it all set up. I throw it out there and I see what happens, right? And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And I'm interested in, you know, that, and as a family. So now I've created this. It creates communities of content lovers, right? People who love content are learning communities around something. Like my family loves cooking, and so we'll have a whole family cooking that's just for us as a closed group or an open group. Right now it's open, but it'll eventually give people those options on how they want to manage the content. Now think of a company that is looking for a way to manage content, right? So now John's thinking right now, well, how do you monetize that, right? Well, how does Google monetize YouTube? That's exactly what we do. You monetize it the same way that Google does, or YouTube. You monetize it that way. You could even create layers of membership where people can have open access content, but maybe there's another layer where people can buy into certain content and that gets shared with all the people that, you get access to that. And if you like it, you get to do it. You can look at paying for content, there's also platforms like Teachers Paying Teachers. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where people put stuff up and you can pay for it. Like you can say, I want that. And then you pay like $1.50, and you get it as you go. There's everything's on the table for us to do. And I see it being kind of a mashup of all of those possibilities.
So Steve, then if that's the case, and again, you piqued my interest because I'm always looking for avenues, and I think all of us have just some fantastic content that we've either created or experiences that we've had that we'd love to share that can educate, those
Mhm.
around us and those that are either in the field or thinking about getting in the field. So, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be selfish. So what's in it for me? So in other words, if I create a tool and publish it on NoBits and, let's say Dave pays a subscription to NoBits, does John get 2 cents on the dollar, or how does that work for?
Yeah. So there's
that is
there's two
joining
ways right now, right? That's a good question. So the first way, if you want to make money right now on it, you would go to My Library. You'd package your content, put it on My Library as a book. And then here's the challenge. You have to market it. We all have to market it. We have to create, and that's what right now, all the publishers today that take a big chunk of and only give you a small slice of it, they want you to get it all. They're task averse. They are marketing averse. They want you to do all the marketing, the sales, and put it all together in a way they don't have to do anything. I'm like, where's your value add proposition? The publishers today totally aren't adding value. So My Library has tended to like, hey, let's figure it out. You're going to have, so since you have to do it out there, let's do it here, but let's make the margin bigger and let's give you that. And let's try to make it easy for you to make it out there. And you can make it more affordably available, and there'll be print options, but that's how you would go. You would go in that direction, package your content, put it out there, like self-publishing on steroids. We would be able to leverage this as it grows and get the word out and get people to buy it. Now, on the flip side, on NoBits, you might have to wait a while before you'd see some revenue, because we got to create a big community of people so that we can create those additional revenues. The idea on NoBits would be potentially you could have a closed community. People would sign up and pay you. There's a thing called E2M. Check it out on Facebook. Eager to Motivate, and you have to pay a fee separately. They let you in one by one into the community, and then once you're in the community, you have access to all their content and their training and stuff like that. It's all about how to get fit and how to be whatever. But they're using Facebook for it, So we would kind of use that. You could use that feature, or marketing and advertising, right? So people how many downloads, how many people are sharing and combining and so forth. The third thing we're going to do is blockchain it. So every bit of your content is going to be blockchained. So you'll have your own copyright piece to it as well. Now, what happens there on the copyright piece, it's just we're copywriting, we're blockchaining, we're circumventing copyright, so to speak. We're actually copyright on steroids again, because you now are really protecting it. It's tracked, we know where it is, and then we can start finding ways. Once we create enough of a groundswell of people using it, then we figure out how do we monetize all that through the advertising dollars, the number of clicks, the number of shares, or you create a closed community and maybe people pay into it. Maybe we create this hybrid model. People can say, I want to buy into that. So rather than doing what E2M does on Facebook, it's actually a formalized process. You can, hey, I want access to this community on NoBits. It's really cool, but you click, you have to pay. And you decide what you want to charge, and we create the margins in such a way that works for everybody. That's all in our heads. We're making it, the platform is there. I'll show you in just a second. It's there to make this happen. So this is not like just purely an idea. So I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Just a quick thought, Steve. When we think about costs to have access to material, those of us who used to travel to conferences, let's say to the Academy Management meeting, your plane, your hotel, your meals, and a hefty fee for what? To walk around, listen to people talk, and have access to a proceeding. So if that's like $4,000 or $5,000 off someone's budget, you could get an awful lot of use of those $4,000 by being able to be part of your vision here. you'll spend 50 here, 20 there, 10 there. But people have got to shift their minds to how the cost benefit is access at the moment you need it, which you don't get when you travel to Seattle to an international meeting. I'm just talking about one field, but every field has the same challenge. And people just aren't going to spend a lot of money anymore, even though they love being together, when they can reach the same person on this screen and say, oh, there's Jean Bartunek. What is she offering? And is there a link to Jean so I can learn more about Jean? I can get that done. And if it costs me $10, I'll click and spend right now.
So this right here, and what you're seeing on the screen is NoBits. Now this view you're going to have different views. You can have bit views, part views, and whole views. So we're building that out. Right now you're looking at a part view. What I mean by that is a part is made up of bits, parts, wholes. So when I look here, I look at Provocations for Humanity. I click on that. Now I'm in, so I'm not sure what this is. So how?
This is all bits. No bits.
These
is
are all bits.
bit view.
Okay, good. We've been, this is the new, we want to start at the bit. Now, can I get to the part view?
Not from here currently.
Okay, so we're eventually, so you'll be able to, so Provocations for Humanity, I want to see Tom Foolery's stuff. Where's Tom Foolery? Do I type it in?
You could go into the search.
Yeah, and just type fool. I'm gonna type fool. See if it pops up.
I don't think,
Nope.
I'm trying to think what the title is.
Okay. So what I want to say is like with
It's Tom,
so
isn't it? Isn't the author's name Tom?
Yeah, Tom. I think it's Tom. So I put in Tom. There, no. So you need
Maybe
a,
it's
so this
Tom,
is
but
what you all are witnessing is like some things we gotta fix up.
But that's a great, but this is, so Luster Edwards, DEI awareness, it's a checklist.
Yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
bit, right? So it's a
Yeah,
tool
yeah.
that I can use that, or if I wanted to publish something on, hey, if you're going to do a learning assessment or learning analysis, organizational learning analysis, I can publish that out here, make it available, and commercialize it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And Birgit, I own NoBits. So, but I wanted
The
to find
tomfoolery
Tom.
piece is called The Great Realization.
Yeah, so that's the problem with the search now, Teo. You got to be able to, the search has got to work better than that. I should be able to put Tom in it to show up.
Well, his name is
Okay,
Thomas.
you
That's
got,
why it
see, you
didn't
have
show
to
up.
put in exactly, you have to put the exact wording in, so that doesn't work.
If you put his first name in, it would just Thomas, OS, not Tom. It would show up.
Thomas, T-H-O-M-A,
No,
T-O-M-A-S?
Yeah. OS. OS.
OS. See, yeah, so we got to have the Google, that's not working. T-O-M-O-S is not working. So that, we need to have the better, have the easier, fix that for sure. So anyway, what the thing is with the knowledge bit, like if I really love his, because I wanted to do it for Cliff, because his is a poem that was absolutely phenomenal in the midst of COVID. I don't know if you can put it in the chat. Taylor, so I can find it.
It's between Peter Senge and Stuart Levine. Go one up into the, nope, left, the colorful one. Yep, there it is.
Right there. See the great realization, you all? See the great realization right there?
Mhm.
So that is a knowledge bit that's a part of Provocations for Humanity as a part. There's a collection, a book called The Provocations for Humanity. That's a knowledge part as a book. So if you would click, like, I want to look at knowledge parts or books, you would see, and then you would see this inside that. But right now, these are all bits. So I click on Great Realization. Here's his thing. All right. And I was so blown away. I sent him a note. He posted this. Yeah, I got to go into Google here. Hold a second. He posted this. And I'm not sure what's going on there, why that looks like that. There we go. He put this on YouTube as a video, and I was blown away by it. And I sent him a note and said, I love this. I want to put this on my platform. He goes, sure, thanks a lot, man. He put that on there. Like within 2 days, he had 2 million views or something on YouTube. So here's the cool thing. Look here. We took and transcribed it, text first. So we put it here, text, and then I pick here and I click on video right here. And here is this is the one right here. So if you haven't seen this, has anybody seen this?
Oh,
I'm going to show it to you. Let me share this so it shares the sound. It's very short. I know we got to
Steve,
go.
I have to jump.
I have to jump too. Actually, I have to jump too. I forgot. I have
Good.
students.
I'll make sure
Take a
to
look at
include the
this,
link
watch
to
this
in the
video.
follow-up email, guys.
Yeah, but you got the link. You can go right to this. You can watch this. It's a beautiful poem, beautiful story. It's so moving. But anyway, I'll see you all next month. Okay. And I know that's a quick, we're in and out, but take care, everybody.
very
Thank you,
exciting
Steve.
stuff, Steve. Great
Yeah.
job.
Thanks, Theo.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I know it's an abrupt stop, but it is. It was fun.